Okay, so me Kevin has mentioned a few times that he has never been margin called, and it got me thinking. The idea of getting margin called doesn't make sense to me with the sort of research that I've been doing for the past year or two. Um, I'll do my best to explain it, but apparently everyone from Meet Kevin to Bill Huang is just completely misguided with the use of margin. So I will try my best to explain kind of what I mean, and hopefully my OBS does not crash again. So leverage is just a ratio between the value of what you have. Let's say you have $10 in stocks, and let's say you borrow $10. So this creates a ratio. Um, it would be 2 to 1. So this is 2x leverage. 2 being the total amount, and then 1 being the amount of debt you have. So this is what I like to call a dynamic ratio because one of these numbers can change without you doing anything. And then one of the numbers will always stay the same, which is the amount of debt you have, unless you pay it off or incur more debt. So just day to day without doing anything, your leverage ratio can change. So your um, let's say your portfolio goes from a total value of 20 to a total value of 18. Well, now you have the same portfolio, but now it's 2.2x leverage. And the concept that I'm trying to explain here is that it gets to a point where you are leveraged so much with the same portfolio that it's a completely different thing. And going from 2 to 4, depending on the type of asset, could turn your winning game into a losing game. So that has to do with the Kelly criterion. Um, if I take a 8% return with a 20% vol, which is like the long-term U.S. averages, you get a Kelly number of, I think it's exactly 2, which is 2x leverage. So if you don't know anything about the Kelly criterion, this says 3 things. Anything less than this number, you'll make money. So you'll just make some. You'll make a little bit of money. You'll still make money. You're not going to lose anything. But in a way, you are making, or you are leaving money on the table because assuming there's a limited time that you can play the game, you're not taking full advantage of that opportunity. So when you get closest to the number, you're actually making the most money when you get closest. So the most is when you're equal. When you go above this number, you lose money. And I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I can proof it with Portfolio Visualizer. Not a lot of people use the Kelly criterion in this way, where they use KGAR, or like average return, and standard deviation or volatility. There's like a different way you can set it up, but this way is the same exact thing. It's just more applicable to stocks when you use it in this way, but I'll proof it in like another video. So that's what this number tells you, and that is a mathematical fact that can't be disputed. That's not like oh, the market's efficient, the market's not. No, this is a mathematical fact that if you have an asset that returns 8% with 20% standard deviation, the most money you can make with that asset is by using 2x leverage. Anything less, you'll make money, but you won't make it as fast. Anything more, or significantly more, the difference between 2x and 4x, you will start to lose money very quickly. This is why you see a lot of those charts on Wall Street bets that kind of spike up and then just crash down. There is a actual mathematical reason for why that happens, and that's that's part of this. So the idea of getting margin called is that as asset prices fall, your leverage will slowly increase. But if the markets are even somewhat efficient, then the discount rate and the vol should remain relatively the same. So you could argue that if Microsoft falls 50%, there's probably a greater expected return, but the volatility might make up for that. So let's just say that as asset prices move around, it's still a 2x Kelly number. So what that means is when your portfolio falls in half, you're now 4x leverage. So if it falls in half again, that you put yourself in a situation that mathematically doesn't make any sense because you've overbet the Kelly number, which we know as a mathematical fact again turns your winning game into a losing game. So whenever you get margin called, one, that's just to protect the the broker, but it means that your leverage has gone so far out of whack that unless you know that this asset has like a 20% return and 10% vol or something ridiculous, which you don't know, then you're just setting yourself up for a losing game. So what you're supposed to do is as asset prices fall, if you're using leverage, you should keep this 2x leverage consistent the whole time and not deviate away unless you think these numbers have changed. So unless you think the respected return has gone up or volatility has or will decrease in the future, you should keep it 2x the entire way through. So it's counterintuitive, but if you're going to use leverage correctly, then you should actually sell some assets as the market falls and buy more as the market is going up. And that seems a little counterintuitive, but when you follow the actual math behind it, it makes perfect sense. And I'll show again in Portfolio Visualizer like exactly how that makes sense.